Starting soon, screen immersion break. Thanks for the raid, Kaviri. I wasn't shouting anybody out in the middle of an ad break. Let's see. Right now, I'm checking Clip Studio for bad stuff. Why am I doing that while stream is going? Scuff. I am not a good drawer. Let's see. Turn the browser off. Now my kids are trying to get in here. That's great. But you know what is great is a raid from Kaviri. You are on D&D. Okay. We're doing good. Do. Okay. Okay. Let's see if my camera is even working. Let's see if my camera is even fucking working. Yeah, we good? Oh, shit. One thing worked. The lights might blink a little bit. Hey, guys, what's up? What's going on with you? Oh, why am I in... Oh, I'm logged in. I can do that. Sweet. I'm hoping that's the correct command. Let's see. Nope. Nope, it didn't shout anybody out. Well, I'm shouting Kaviri out. Because Kaviri plays games and is not bad at them. Which is more than I could say. So you should check out Kaviri for bald gaming. Love you, man. Thanks for the raid. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is 1 week, man. 1 week progress. Got the big millimeter. He is bald. Hey, Snacksies, what's up? Oh man, where? No, alert command. Something I wanted to get done, but didn't. What a fucking week. Holy shit. Let me get to that real quick. I'm just now in the kicking off my shoes phase of getting home from work. How about that? You're gonna milli my meter? Don't mind if you do. No lurk, no jork, no fish, why even live? Yeah, sure, Kaviri, that'd be great. Fishing not working. Loser streamer. I mean, all the best loser streamers talk to their CIOs on a regular basis. We're first name buds now. Doubt that, but we did have several conversations this week. I'll let you assess whether or not that's good or bad. Oh, why start fixing things now? A great question. Hey, Inak, what's up? What's going on? Let's see. It's gonna be a pretty drawing heavy stream today, because we're going over accountability, and I have a lot of things to say about that I don't need, you know, other websites to help me talk about. You're just gonna have to defer to my experience on that one. Oh, yep, at least I caught it this time. Guess what's not plugged in, guys? Guess what's not plugged in? I'll give you 3 guesses, but only the first one counts. Yeah, me too, Inak. Yeah, a drawing tablet. Holy crap. Nope, just my drawing tablet. And let's see if I can't get it up here without breaking stuff. Like, my actual electric grid is futzy today. So if I just disappear, I'm not going to tempt fate on that one. I'm just gone. So you don't have to stick around waiting or pretending like I'm going to be back. God, those LEDs are bright. So my main light isn't working, so my backup light is up, and the LEDs are not diffused at all, so that's right in my face. We having a good day today, chat. We're having a great day. Did I even have... Oh! I've got my water! At least I have water. Could have solved all of this by being a VTuber, I guess. Maybe that's what I should have done. Maybe y'all should have gotten the seagull today. As soon as I realized that my lights weren't working, I should have converted to seagull mode. That was the play. That was the play. It is so scuffed that having water is a blessing. Yeah, that's where we're at right now. That's where we're at. Let me get to my notes. Because this was a notes kind of a day. I have so much more paperwork now. Oh, yeah. One thing I wanted to talk about today, because it's become apparent while I've been talking to other people all throughout the day, that this is a very jump straight from A to D logic kind of day. So, like, points B and C are happening in my head, and I'm not verbalizing them. So when somebody says something A, I'm like, hey, that reminds me of B, which reminds me of C. And I'm not going to start talking about this thought process until I arrive at point D. And then people get very confused. So if I seem to be jumping all over the place today, like more than normal, please stop. Or please type in chat and stop me and make me explain what the fuck I'm talking about. Because it's going to be one of those kind of days. What happened this week? From A to D, skipping B and C. That's Scout Gaming? I'll try Scout then. Fuck it. Is that what they give you on the tutorial? I've only done the tutorial in Deep Rock. Assuming that's from Deep Rock. I couldn't even pick, like, which... So every time I launch OBS, it has a hard It has a hard time finding Spotify. So I've got to modify that, and OBS crashed right before I hit go live. So that's why there wasn't any sound. Thank you, Saru, for pointing out that there wasn't any. You get all classes after tutorial? Yeah, but I didn't go any farther than the tutorial. It was like tutorial, beat tutorial, log off, and make chat teach me the game because I think that's the most fun. It's not a game I want to play by myself. And I have gotten so... I am so over public lobbies in, like, any game. I am so over that. So... Everybody else having a good weekend? Like, I'm actually in a pretty good mood, despite everything that's going on right now. Me and waifu celebrated 20 years together on Thursday. So, that was great. I took that day off of work. Got a lot done. Got a lot done that didn't involve setting up exclamation point lurk. But I got a lot done nonetheless. And all it cost me was being extra busy every other day of the week, which is why I seem so frazzled. But I think I've had some conversations with my CEO twice this week. One of them was about... See, I like my CEO, and not CEO, CIO. And I like my organization, so I'm trying to be very careful about how I speak about this, because they're a bit sensitive. Well, all corpos are. All corpos are a bit sensitive. But I don't want to give anybody the impression that I'm being overly critical or needlessly critical. You know how it is with you guys. I forget to talk about what I like about you and just, like, talk about the stuff that annoys me. But I think you guys understand. Corpos don't understand that bit. They need lots of positive affirmation, like a woman. And when you get online and you start talking about everything your company is doing wrong and none of the things it's doing right, that can look pretty bad. So, yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to word this, but basically, I had a talk with the CIO about how the sensitivity level inside the company was so high that it was making communication difficult between departments. And nobody... Because of that, it was very hard to get anybody to, like, take ownership of the services that they offer. So, despite being part of a big group, you can often feel like you're just alone. And it doesn't help that I had to teach Microsoft Tier 3 how their products work this month. Which is not the first time I've had to teach Tier 3 in several companies how to do that. But, you know, it is what it is. I had a nice lunch with the CIO earlier than that, and I was specifically told not to talk about what we talked about there, so you guys are just going to have to, like, fill that void yourself. I thought I said hi already, Inak, but hello again. Welcome in, man. Let's see. Yeah, I did. I like the Gengar emote, though. You can spam that as much as you want. Oh yeah, I helped some people learn how to clip their own content this week. That was fun. That was actually fun, despite being one of the things that made me feel extra busy this week. I had fun doing that. What I did not have fun doing was learning the... well, maybe they're not pointless, but what I would say is arbitrary changes that DaVinci Resolve makes to some of its menus and functionality, for reasons I'm sure DaVinci Head could tell me are superior and all that jazz. But I don't feel like if I'm in the clipping workflow and I've got one view up, that it can have UI elements for marking your in and out points but then I can go to another view and then not have those, and then go to another view and then have them again. But the view that doesn't have them is otherwise the most useful view in the clipping area. So that was frustrating. And there's going to be lots of little things like that as I learn DaVinci, or as Nero calls it, Da Vinci. But yeah, actually doing the stuff was fun, and it looks like after that he kind of took off and started learning things really rapid fire and put together some nice stuff in short order. So I'm happy about that. That was a win this week. The 20-year anniversary was a win. So we've had a few of those. But other than that, it's been wrestling with software companies and that fun stuff. There was a vendor that lied to my face today, and I'm not happy about it. But because of the nature of the vendor, they have us bent over a barrel a little bit, and I have to put up with their shit. But I am currently looking into ways to no longer have to put up with their shit. And if they keep doing it, once I find out how to not put up with their shit, they're going on a blacklist. Not just me, but with, like... You know what? Never mind. If it happens, I'll let you know. And I won't say that I'm responsible for it. But some of our people rely on this vendor. So right before I sent the big fuck you email, I emailed my folks and be like, is there any way that we can get around not using this vendor? Is there any way that we can accomplish our stuff a different way? And they said no. I don't believe them, but I didn't have the luxury of investigating that. It would not be a short investigation. So I didn't get to send my fuck you email. But it's coming. It's coming. Okay. Let's get to it. Anybody have any interesting things go on this weekend? I think I asked that already, but I didn't see any replies, and it's okay to not to. That is definitely fine. Let's see. How's the noise level? How's the volume level on the background music before I get into this? Because it's likely not to change once I start writing. Let's see. Oh, hey, a shaking ass. I wasn't expecting to see that right away. Here we go. Having all the government people back at work has been fun. I bet, Omni. Hi, I'm the government people. I never left work. Uh-oh. Why tablet not on? Why tablet not on? That's not a good prize. Oh, I think I know why tablet not on. Oh, it's a good thing I'm wearing pants. Excuse me, fellas. Actually, I'm going to switch it from this end. I won't have any keyboard for a sec. Badoop. At least I'm not capturing my desktop audio, and you can't hear the badoops. Switch that. Okay. Time to turn on the Bluetooth. Cue until it blinks. Do. Sorry, guys. That's why I put Scuff in the stream title like 5 times. Because everything has been breaking. Alright, sweet, we're connected. Alright, cool. It's just it's an XP pin Art Deco. Basic stuff. Preemptive Scuff. Just, no. There was already Scuff, and it is just kept going. That is where we're at. Sweet. So, first thing... Think paths. Today. I'm hearing A. Thinking B to C. Only verbalizing D. Yeah, that feels good to write. Okay. Yeah, we're good. We're Gucci. Yeah, maybe having a PNG was the right move with that much stuff. Yeah, dude, the kids are normally, pretty cognizant of my stream days and how much time I have to get prepared for stream every morning. Every stream day. But, what you might not know is I only give myself about 30 minutes between getting home from work and hitting the stream button. Because I think going live at, 6 o'clock my time is pretty important, because if I have like a 3-hour stream, it's already 9 p.m. here, and D is the only thing in people's mouths most of the time. Man, I'd like some of that right now. Nero says, can't hear because I'm at a family dinner, but wanted to add number. Thanks, Nero, appreciate it. While he can't hear me, does it work now? Yeah, it works now. Shout out to Nero. He streams shit. And he's a fallen angel of death, if I remember correctly. 1,500 years old. Acts like he's not old enough to be on Twitch. But he's 1,500. So we love that for him. He plays games. He interviews people. Check out his content. And now I'm going to try that one more time with Kaviri, because it didn't work before. Yeah, I have to wait 2 minutes. Well, maybe it was correct, because it wouldn't have given me that warning if it was wrong. He doesn't read chat, just like RM. Yeah, I know he can't hear me. That was, the fallen angel of death. Nice job, dude. Nice job. Origami. Oh god, are we going to start calling ourselves by, like, all the nicknames we get from, like, other streamers? Because that would be chaotic and fun. I'm patiently waiting for cereal to start mixing drinks and changing lives. Yeah. I need to see if I can't get on Sip Sip. That would be fun. Nobody seems to be able to decide whether or not I count. Okay. Oh, I just saw something. Give me a second, because I actually want to see that. Let's see. No. Okay. Okay, that's more stuff about lurkers. Alright. So for you guys, it's Peen's fault. It absolutely is Peen's fault. Yes. Yes, Lirio. But I'm assuming it's coming. Momo the Menace. Basically what that was Twitch addressing the lurkers thing. So one of the things about the lurker thing that I think is important is that I don't buy that it's a lurker thing for anybody that impacts. And the reason I don't think that's a lurker thing is because of the numbers that the big boys are putting up. The people who have like 50k CCV are still putting up 50k CCV. Or let me put it this way. If somebody has 50k CCV and they drop the 40k CCV after the change, do you really think there are 40,000 people in their streams not lurking? Because that would crash the chatting server, I think. Whatever node they're on, it just goes down. There's no way you've got 40,000 people actively chatting in those streams. That's nonsense. So their lurkers are being counted. So whatever's going on, it's not as simple as lurkers don't count and people that type do. It ain't that easy. Sorry. You can just go to any big channel and see that that's the case. High 4 view, even just 4 view. You go to a 4 view, there's not 1,000 people typing. No way. There's maybe 30 active chatters. I think it's even easier to see on the low 4 views that that's the case. You can even measure that for yourself. There's actually scripts that you can write to, like, measure, even as a viewer, the number of active chatters in somebody's chat over a period of time and compare that number to what their CCV was. It's going to be the CCV is going to be way, way higher. Apparently, this is a thing that only applies if you're small, but we don't know those thresholds. But we've been told directly multiple times not to have, like, multiple streams open, so there's that. I don't know who Pestily is, but I'm going to read that out anyway. Yume says, Pestily had 50k when Tarkov 1.0 dropped, but his chat was only 10 seconds slow mode. Most people were lurking for... Yeah. Is that a stream that happened recently, though? Because I don't know who that is. The A is for oral. What? Why would A be oral? You know what? Never mind. Don't answer that. Three days ago. Okay, yeah, 3 days ago. So yeah, you've got 50k, and there's only 10 second slow mode, and most people are lurking there. So, you never talk in VC. Nope, it's never happened. Okay. So we're going to talk about accountability today. New layer. Oh god, how did I new layer again? I have forgotten everything. It's this button. We'll turn off layer 1. I like the turnip. The turnip. Yeah, we'll just count. Oh, it is the turnip. I like the turnip pin. And I'm... Okay. Remember that no-no corner? No, I don't remember the no-no corner. What was the no-no corner? Scary word. Yeah, accountability. All right. So when I'm talking about accountability, because it never fails when I'm talking about what I think is a simple word or a simple... Oh, yeah, the no-no corner behind my camera. Whenever I'm talking about a word that I think is simple or that I think we're all on the same page on, it's brought to my attention that we're not. So let's talk about what I mean by accountability. Accountability is being responsible get on there for your actions the outcome of those actions. And here's where I think people get really tripped up. I don't need a comma there. Regardless... regardless of intent. That's the big one. Which eye did I not dye it? Nah. Close that G up. The, that last thing is what really trips people up. If I'm driving a vehicle, if I'm operating a vehicle, and the sun's in my eyes, and somebody's jaywalking, and I hit them, and they die, what am I being charged with? In most places. What am I being charged with? Getting rid of a jaywalker. Well, hitting a pedestrian, yes, but, yeah. Man's laughter, as Lirio says. We call that vehicular. Manslaughter. But RM, I thought your point that intent was worthless. Wouldn't your intent judge whether or not you were getting charged with vehicular manslaughter or first-degree murder? Absolutely. If I knew that jaywalker was going to jaywalk there, and I had planned out running him over, that would be murder. Both of those are ways to hold me accountable, however. The intent of... the lack of intent for committing vehicular manslaughter does not free me from the accountability. It may change the charge, but it doesn't stop the fact that I'm going to be held accountable by the legal system. Might be a bit nuanced there, which I hear is dangerous on this site. But that's the difference. When we're talking about accountability, we're not talking about what the punishment is. We're talking about the process of administering accountability. So it doesn't matter that I did not mean to vehicular manslaughter. What matters is... hold on. What if a cat girl flashed her titties at me and distracted me, causing me to hit a pedestrian? I think most juries would not convict. Actually, I've been summoned for a jury 7 times, and I have not had to serve once. You know why? It's because they really, really, really don't like when people are even aware of the concept of jury nullification. They don't like that at all. It's usually an auto kick. Remember that tech. Let's see. Yeah, just remember that tech. If you are aware of what jury nullification is, you might never serve on one. You may or may not like that, depending on your predisposition. So, be aware. I love water. So, you don't you don't have that. That's true, isn't it? Neat. Now I'm rethinking my position on certain political stances. No jury duty, huh? Oh, that's tempting. That is tempting. So, what do we have for, like, the first example? Oh, yeah. So, we're going to do another layer, which is this button. So, why is it important? Long-term planning is essentially the answer. Sometimes it's not important. Who are thieves accountable to? Like, if they get away with it. Let's imagine let's imagine you're Lupin the Third. Who are you accountable to? It's basically no one, right? The Thieves Guild, if that exists. Like, in the modern era, though. Like, let's pretend for a minute that you don't operate in Chicago or anywhere where you're going to run into that sort of the Thieves Guild situation. You're not running for office. Which is why they run for office over there. Only God can judge me. That's right, Omni. Like, if you're doing the bad stuff, if you're doing the bad stuff, and you are sufficiently, you're sufficiently privileged. You're not accountable to anybody. Suspiciously. And what do I mean by sufficiently privileged? Well, let's say that you're just smart enough to not get caught, and those people tend not to be... Those people tend not to exist, really. But if you're smart enough to, like, never get caught, you're sufficiently privileged. If you make the rules such that you are above them, you are also sufficiently privileged. So, like, corporations don't get dinged for tax evasion because they don't have to evade taxes because they write the rules. So it's not a worthwhile venture to them. They're just not accountable to their tax practices. Not really. If there's something they want to do with taxes, they just get the tax law changed so that they can do it above board. People call those tax loopholes, but they're not actually loopholes. Like, a loophole is something that is typically not intentional. The tax loopholes are intentional. They're 100% intentional. So it's working by design. By design. It's working by design. Omni says if you lobby hard enough, it's not illegal. Exactly. So if you're writing the rules, you tend not to be accountable, and that goes for anybody who's writing the rules. Now, you can fuck up hard enough that, you know, basically the law of force comes into play. Like, you piss somebody off that can project force enough that they start projecting that force, you're suddenly accountable to them. On that note, guys, let's talk about some glowy shit. Did y'all see the things happening in Mexico right now? Did y'all see how that suddenly happened? Just as we were starting to put the screws to, what was it, Venezuela? I forget. I forget the country names on the opposite side of the Gulf of America. Was it Venezuela we were putting the screws to? And then Mexico suddenly has what seems to be a revolution in progress? Anybody notice that? Yeah, Venezuela. Okay. Oh, you mate, what's happening in Mexico? Well, suddenly the president of Mexico, who seems to be in the pocket of the cartels, and I say seems to be for my own reasons, the Zoomer revolution, the well-funded, well-organized, very sudden Zoomer revolution, completely unrelated, yes. Yeah, the mostly peaceful protest over there in Mexico. Apparently, the president's 37th mysterious death of political opposition was the one that was a bridge too far. It wasn't 36 or 35 or 34 that caused the revolution. It was, yeah, the mostly peaceful storming of the president's palace. It was the 37th political opponent to die that really just threw that country over the edge just as we were putting the screws to Venezuela. That doesn't glow at all. Anybody here old enough to be politically aware during the time of the Arab Spring? It does seem to take 37 mayors to spark a true revolution. So, no, yeah, sure. Zara would not remember the Libyan Arab Spring and the consequences, I'm sure. What was that? Muammar Gaddafi that we totally didn't depose? To be fair, he was a bad dude. He was a very bad dude. There's all sorts of interesting videos you can find about the things he did and how many times we attempted to kill him. At least on those times we attempted to kill him, they were, like, above board. They were... You mean by Killary? Yeah! Gosh, I wonder why you call her that. That's how Sean Smith died. Uh-oh, I've got pings. Why do I have pings? I really should turn Discord stuff off during stream. I keep thinking somebody wants to talk to me, but it's just other VTubers going live. Oh, jeez. Yeah, so, you know. Get pinged, nerd. So speaking of sufficiently privileged, our three-letter agencies still seem to be very above the rules. It was 100% natural, completely homegrown revolution. Yeah! Yeah! You know what? The older people in chat. And you know what? Actually, no. Take the age away from it. I want you all to try to talk to a normie about Mexico. Don't tell them anything that'll upset them. Just ask if they know about it. Just ask if they know about it. And then see what they have to say about it. It doesn't matter what their opinion is. It doesn't matter if you disagree with them. If they try to, like, get you to enter in some sort of debate, just, like, flatly refuse. Because that's annoying. There's been Zip on the news, right? I mean, I don't watch the broadcast news or the cable news, so I actually wouldn't know. So, yeah, the media's not covering it. That's interesting. I wonder why the media wouldn't be... Actually, no, I did see something. I saw footage on not Twitch. I saw footage on Twitter of Fox News suddenly interviewing people that were from Mexico and part of the revolution, which is weird that they would be able to suddenly come to the United States because they were being interviewed in the United States. It's weird that they were suddenly able to, like, come over to, like, New York City and get interviewed by Fox News just as that revolution was happening. You know, like, inside of 2 days, they suddenly have the visa and everything. That's weird. Nice suit, too. Nice suit. Comedy says, I don't talk to normies. I just kind of want to know where the normies are at. I'm gonna put out my army of alts and get the pulse of the normies. Because I have a feeling that the younger crowd has no suspicions at all that this is a CIA glow-op. I think this might be the 20-somethings like babbies first. I think tonight's going to be like some 20-somethings babby first CIA glow-op. And I just kind of want to put the feelers out there to see if that's what's happening, or if the 20-somethings are more aware than I give them credit. I actually don't know. It would be interesting to find out. Too bad I don't work in an area where I have access to many 20-somethings that I could just ask dozens of at random one day over my lunch break. It would be nice if I worked in an environment like that. Alas. You think it's more in line with the Nepal and Indonesia revolts? Was it the Philippines? I'm bad with the islands. I'm very bad with the islands. Was it the Philippines that the very strict on crime guy basically became dictator? Or was that Puerto Rico? I forget. I think it was the Philippines? Yeah. I think it's likely that Zoomers really are communicating, so expect more digital IDs for children's safety. You know, that might be a point, sorry. That might be a point. Yeah, Philippines did have that. I don't know, man. The timing and the specific way certain people got covered and who was doing the interviews, that reeks of glow-op to me. And also, you know, right on the tail end of that, you had the vote for the Epstein files. And a lot of the things we're learning about the Epstein files come from documents that were released prior to that bill being passed, and that bill, I don't believe, has passed. It has passed the House, but I don't think it's been through the Senate and then the president's desk. Like, it's not in effect yet. But suddenly, we're being distracted with all this Epstein file stuff from the files that are already out there. There's like, what, 64,000 Epstein-related documents that have already been released? Something like that. It's not a small number. It's about as many viewers as Asman has. Or his CCV, I mean. That's the number of documents that have been already dropped. Oh yeah, it sure has been an embarrassment for them. But the timing, like, the timing's real weird. Like, we've got a carrier group that just moved into the Southern Caribbean. We've got a mostly peaceful storming of the presidential palace in Mexico. And then suddenly it's time to release the Epstein files that have largely already been released. That's why you think they did the military shouldn't follow illegal orders shtick. Yeah, it's really weird to say that, though. I have opinions on that. I understand that it's already a thing that you can wind up in a lot of trouble for following illegal orders. But in a practical sense, there's no reason to say that except to cast the lawful orders of the President of the United States into a gray area. Like, there's no reason to hold a press conference and say that unless you are intimating that current orders are not lawful. Which, that's neat. Aren't the illegal orders they were specifically talking about specifically declared lawful by the Supreme Court not even like a week ago? Yeah, like it's a standing thing. So you say they avoid accountability? Lizard. Lizard, 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 lizard. God, my kids were doing that all day in the truck. All day! I had to, like, do some errands with them. And all three of them the whole time. I should have said cheese. They would have done that instead. Oh well, I missed the chance. They need to go back to the Vietnam War trials over illegal orders. Yeah. Yeah, there was no need to say that. They were trying to say that the orders that the Supreme Court has already said are lawful were not in fact lawful, as if they got to decide such things. And that, you know, how you handle that isn't beaten into every grunt's head anyway. Does that qualify as sedition? I'll say this. I'm not sure that it doesn't. It's flirting. It's flirting. But that's okay. We gave up putting people on trial for acts of sedition when Jane Fonda was on the wrong side of those. So Saru, maybe those Democrats were sufficiently privileged to avoid accountability there. You know who wasn't sufficiently privileged? That Harvard professor. Hopefully you guys all know about that by now. Check out the T-Man and the new New York City mayor-elect. Yeah, I saw that. Guys, for those of you who don't follow politics, there was no way that the President of the United States and the mayor of the largest financial power city in the world were not going to meet and have discussions. That was never going to be initially contentious. Now, will it get contentious? Maybe. I'm pretty sure that's what they were talking about. I'm pretty sure that's what they were talking about today, is whether or not things would get contentious and under what circumstances that they would get contentious. I'm pretty sure that was the bulk of their discussion today. You know, just... I wasn't there. Just throwing the experience hat into the ring. Oh, yeah. Maybe they were even talking about details over what they were allowed to get contentious in public about, and what they weren't, and how they were going to frame those things. Guys, if you think those conversations don't happen, man, I got a bridge to sell you. New York is very important. Being the mayor of New York is very important. And it doesn't matter if you're an absolute crackpot. Once you're in that seat, you're important enough to talk to. If T-Man can bring a former Al-Qaeda member to the Oval Office, I ain't surprised he pulled the communist New York City mayor. Yeah, no. See... Oh, yeah. Remaining reminders about ad break 0. Oh, I meant to address that today. I'll address that when I get back. Because I don't think micromanaging my ads is actually worth my time. I've just gotten there as a streamer. I don't think that's a thing that I should be doing. Also, I don't have an ad break for like another 8 minutes, Yume. I kind of got started late. Somehow. Maybe all the scuff. I don't know. But, what was I saying? Now I've got distracted. Oh yeah, the mayor of LA is probably in a similar position, though I think the mayor of New York is a little bit more privileged. Is a little bit more privileged of a position. Embrace the corpo, then shill those subs like Serial does. Oh, we were talking about how great Russia is. Okay, sure. Oh yeah, did you see that? Man, I'm pretty sure other presidents did this and they just weren't put on the news about it. But I am loving the impression I'm getting that Trump is just, like, not taking any business from these, like, rude, White House press pool reporters. Like, he had a guest over, right? I forget exactly who the guest was, but I think Saru was, like, referencing the guest. And a reporter is like, do you feel responsible for, like, these dead people? I forget exactly how that was phrased. And, Trump's like, what a rude thing to ask our guest. Get out of here. You suck. He calls them piggy on Air Force One. Dude, what? He calls who piggy? The new Saudi crown prince. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's who he was talking to. And, yeah, some reporter was, like, asking... No, I didn't hear Trump call a female reporter Piggy. Like Miss Piggy, the Muppet? Or was he just calling her an oinker? Holy shit, I've got to look this up. By the way, who is the President of the United States accountable to? Can anybody tell me? I will take answers that are both practical and in theory. By the way. He's he's accountable to this pants grab. Well, there's a famous quote from Thomas Jefferson, and I actually want to go find it now that I'm talking about it so that I don't misquote him. Or was that John Adams? Shit. I think it was Jefferson. Andrew Jackson. I had that completely wrong. Was a response to the Supreme Court's decision in Worcester versus Georgia. He was famously defiant, ignoring the court's ruling and allowing the state of Georgia to proceed with the forced removal of the Cherokee people. Okay, it's now misattributed to Thomas Jefferson. That's why I got confused. Okay. Yeah. John Marshall has made his decision. Now let him enforce it. Now, why did he say that? Why did he say that? It's because the executive branch is responsible for enforcing laws. Not the judicial. That's what people don't really seem to get about the checks and balances system at the federal level. The judicial may interpret laws, which is a power they gave themselves. Well, judicial review was a power they gave themselves. They can interpret laws, but the executive enforces them. Do something about it, bitch! Andrew Jackson. Yeah. Yep. So that's a neat little thing. And Congress is only supposed to write law. He said it because he's based. Pretty much. But yeah, the president, in theory, is accountable to the people. And he's accountable to the people via the mechanism of the Electoral College. He is also accountable to very specific things outlined in the Constitution, such as high crimes and misdemeanors, but otherwise is actually pretty explicitly above the law. Like, the people who are like, oh, the presidents are not above the law, actually, largely, they explicitly are. For the entire... That's also why they can pardon people. Is because of exactly what's going on right now. The reason the president has wide pardon powers is because it was anticipated that opposition parties would abuse the judicial system to go after their political opponents. That's not a new tactic. It's one of the reasons the Constitution was written. Was because of that. That was like a known thing. Do you think the Crown didn't do that? Do you think the Crown didn't use the law to go after their political opponents? No, we thought about that. We thought about that. It's supposed to be jurisprudence for the courts, which included by jury, not just judges. I'm not a legal expert. That sounds reasonable to me. But I think most people envision the Supreme Court as like having their own like private police force that can just go arrest the president when they feel like it. And that's not a thing. That's not actually a thing. Yeah, technically any jury can overturn a law. That's correct. Hence, jury nullification. The one thing that will make sure that you never serve on a jury ever. Alright, guys. Time to make piss break. Time to make piss break. We click in the ads now. Oh, you didn't say that, and we'll follow that up when I get back. We back. We back. You said it, not me. Says sorry. Yeah, well, we'll figure that out, I guess. Or, actually, we'll not figure that out. I'll just, take the L on that one, because I have a feeling the more I dig into that, the more confused I'm going to get, and it's just going to spiral down. One of the things about today is, like, I'm not spending a whole lot of time in the streamer context today. Usually my security streams, are about either the audience or streaming related. Oh, yes. Camera. Jeez, I'm all over the place today, huh? I'm all over the place. But I won't be in streamer or audience context today. The lights are on. I'm assuming Nero can hear us now. Motor! Oh, God. I'm getting rightfully clowned on. The funny thing is, today I was, like, planning... We'll see if my voice holds out for it, but I was planning on a little bit of a longer stream today. We'll see if my voice cooperates. Now, motor boating is a nice pastime activity. I could go for some motor boating right now. Oh, on that note, NTR stocks are up by 2.05%. Just so everyone knows, that was the closing today. So it's a positive day for NTR. But you know, Turkey Day's coming up in the United States. It's what is it, the 27th this year? Yeah, it's the 27th this year. So next channel emote, motorboating. The how is everybody handling that? Not that I need, like, details. But, like, oh, NTR stonks? Yeah. Next channel emote. Because, like, for my family all lives, like, very close by. So we tend to get together for Thanksgivings, like, you know, it's like a 25-plus person event. And one of the very, very consistent rules that we have had is that, you know, we just do not, for any reason, talk about politics during Thanksgiving. And I don't think anybody has ever violated that since we've been meeting, like ever, in my lifetime. I don't think I've seen anybody at our Thanksgivings bring politics up. Until I got married and went to other Thanksgivings that weren't my family's. That's fucking miserable. Don't do that. Already got 2 turkeys? Sweet. Sweet. Oh, that context? Yeah. Man. So, about holding people accountable. If you bring up politics... And I almost used my surname. If you bring up politics at the family Thanksgiving... All I heard, then I got married. Man, my in-laws. My in-laws. They support us a lot, so I don't want to shit on them too much. But when it comes to politics, man... Ugh. Have you ever met, like, a group of boomers that were unironically racist, but they weren't aware of it, and they vote Democrat all the time because they don't like racists? Have you ever met those people? Because that's my in-laws. That's my in-laws. Let's just say I was the right color to date his daughter. Oh, Lirio, it's common. It's common in certain places. Tennessee. Don't live in Tennessee. Don't live in Tennessee. Isn't that called Ohio? Yeah, Ohio's another one. Let's see. Well, yeah, but it's like an ignorance sort of thing. That's just how things are. No. These are the kind of people who, like, they walk into a low-income grocery store and then go to they're 70 years old. And they go to the grocery store clerk in this low-income area. And they use a very... and they're looking for types of candy that just aren't very popular anymore. So they ask this clerk where the circus peanuts are. But they use a very, very offensive term for circus peanuts. Yeah. Yeah. They're like those kind of people. And they vote straight Democrat. Because Republicans are racist. Don't you want to say it? No! No, I don't! That gives me the squick. Like, who thought that was a good idea? They asked for Brazil nuts? No. No, they didn't. Oh, man. That's something that chat can ask Urban Dictionary what offensive terms for circus peanuts are. But I will not be saying it on stream. Oh, jeez. There are modern versions of this, but I think the modern version is self-aware that it's racist. See, that's the problem I'm having. So, like, the modern version of this would be saying something like, people who can't seem to put batteries in their fire alarm would be the modern version of that. But they know what they're saying when they say that. My in-laws don't. So, ceiling bird watchers. So yeah, something like that. But, like, that's intentional. I'm trying to come up with, like, something that lacks intent. Because it's weird. It's weird to experience. Saint Nick's little helper of... Oh no. Oh no. Urban youth. I don't know. I think even that one is used with intent, but I guess it depends on who's saying it, because when the news is saying it, I don't think there's intent there, so yeah, maybe that is a parallel. Maybe that is a parallel. It's really... God, if you haven't run into it, it's hard to describe. That's the problem I'm having. If you haven't run into it, it's hard to describe. It's like when somebody who grew up with anime after Moe Blobs stopped being popular calls me a tourist. It's like that. They don't even know they're being stupid. Yume says, I haven't found what term y'all talking about, and maybe that's a sign not to dig deep to keep my ignorance. Yeah, Yume, maybe that is a sign. That is a deep south... That is a deep south term. And it's rare in the deep south to hear it. Just leave it. I was very surprised the first time I heard that. Because first of all, to even say it, you have to drop a hard R. To even say the nickname for that candy, you have to drop the hard R, because it's part of it. So it's just wild. Yeah, it's only Deep South, and even here, it's not common. But yeah, so if you're if you're prone to saying those things, please don't do it in a low-income area and make your grandson desperately try to evacuate you and keep you from being assaulted. Please don't do that. Make life easy on your grandson. So, how do you hold people accountable when they break the rules at Thanksgiving? Like, let's pretend you're hosting Thanksgiving. How do you hold those people accountable? There's several ways. It depends on, like, the level of offense, if you even want to do it. But I think we're having an accountability crisis. Hi, Noodle. We're having an accountability crisis. Enjoy your lurk. And your good night? What do you do if somebody shows up at your Thanksgiving table and they break your rules? Then you remind them of your rules and they break them again. First of all, there are layers to this, because, like, throw the mashed potatoes. That's one way to do it. Get out is another. I think get out is kind of reserved for, like, the bad ones. You post a Google Doc about it. Oh my god. You're absolutely right. This would be handled on Facebook after the fact. You're absolutely right. This would be handled on Facebook after the fact these days. Or maybe even while it was happening. Like, maybe families are that dysfunctional now. You would, like, be posting about it on Facebook or Instagram, depending on, like, the age of the person involved here. And then the other person would be, like, doing it back to you. And your entire family is, like, having this fight on Facebook, but, like, inside the house, everything is quiet. Ugh. Somebody needs to make a movie about that. That would be... That could be a premise for a pretty funny movie. Mod abuse, English only, dink donk. What's that say, Bloss? Yume, what's that say? Let's put this another way. How many people do you know are capable of holding people like that accountable? Oh, it just says Facebook. Okay, cool. That's funny. Do you know anybody that you don't think could enforce their own rules at their own Thanksgiving? I like Saru's food fight. It's not like you're eating all of that anyway. Food fight. No quotes on that because that's an action. Food fight. But it depends on the level of offense, right? Like, drunk Uncle Fred's going to do something. Now, who's going to do something about drunk Uncle Fred? Because, like, I feel like the kind of people who, like, show up at a Thanksgiving and then break the house rules of wherever they're at, I think that's a special kind of entitled. Like, you already have to be pretty known for being that guy to do that in the first place. Right? You're already that guy if you're willing to do that. But yeah, I think we all know people who we don't think could enforce their own house rules at Thanksgiving right now. If you know that person, don't go to their Thanksgiving. If you know they're going to have people there that tend to cause problems, don't do that. But, like, this accountability crisis is, like, it's playing out everywhere. And that's why I wanted to bring this topic up today. Because it's having implications in security, it's having implications in the culture, and I think one of those might be downstream of the other, which is why I'm talking about culture, and I'm talking about politics, and I'm talking about holidays, like I'm doing the A to D thing. But the reason I'm talking about all that is because I'm not sure which one leads the other. I'm not sure which one's upstream of the other. I think the culture is upstream of the problems we're having in the workplace right now. Can't you simply prohibit them from attending your Thanksgiving if they're being a dick in the salad? You're correct, Yume, you can. But are you willing to make the scene of a relative getting escorted out by the sheriff when that entitled asshole shows up anyway? Because they'll do that. I've seen it happen. Are you willing to call the sheriff on Thanksgiving and have them escort a relative off of your property because they were not invited and they came anyway? Because I am. I'm willing to make that scene. And here's why. Because if you don't, it'll happen again. The sheriff or the coroner, take your pick. I just don't leave forwarding address after moving. I mean, that's one way to do it. Here's the thing. If you don't do that, you may. Not only are they going to walk all over you, but the rest of your family is going to start walking all over you too, because, like, you've shown that you're not worth respecting. Like, here's the thing. They have put you in a situation on, like, the being grateful for what you have holiday of having to be a dick. They have just, like, intentionally put you in that situation. So you gotta remove them. You gotta get rid of them. It's not like... It's like you really just don't have a choice, and it sucks. But they won't do it again. Because, like, if you don't do it, they're going to do it every year after. And, like, everybody's going to be... What's the word? It's going to be tense. It's going to be tense. And I think a lot of people are unwilling to do difficult things these days. It's like, if you do something, you take an action, right? You take an action. Oh, he must have wanted to. Because he took that action, it means he wanted to do it. No. Anybody with children, which I will admit is a shrinkingly small part of the population, but people with... I don't know the way it is where Noodle is, but there's a lot of people like this now, where if you take an action, they assume that you must have wanted to take that action because they have grown up in a culture where you just don't do anything you don't want to. If you don't want to do something, you don't do it. If you don't feel like doing the dishes and making somebody else get so disgusted that they do it, that's what you do. Heard that story about some roommates this week. Not my roommate, someone else's. If you have a tummy hurt disease, you just don't go into work. You need a mental health day. Which, you know, sometimes you do. But, like, there's a lot of people taking mental health days that are superfluous. How else could you put it? Basically, there is a culture right now where you just literally do not do anything you don't want to do. And they make the worst parents. And you can always spot their kids. You can always spot these people's kids. Because they're doing whatever the fuck they want in places where they really shouldn't be. You can spot them in Wally World. You can spot them at the grocery store. Just like anywhere you're out and about. Screaming, kicking, crying anytime they don't get their way. And the parent just like passively letting them do that and not dealing with them. Those are people who have been raised that they just don't have to do anything they don't want to. Taxes. You know that guy, oh, I forget his name. You know that guy who like just like undisciplined dogs get sorry, that's Saru's statement. Just like undisciplined dogs get a good shot collar on them. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, when I discipline my kids, I rarely want to do that. Very rarely. Especially when it's like severe discipline. Never want to do that. Oh man, I am just sucking down water. That's my voice starting to protest. But, yeah, I don't want to do that. That never feels good. It never felt good. And it will never feel good to do that. But, like, it's a thing you gotta do. And... yeah, thirsty little flower. Thanks, Noodle. I thought you were lurking. Or were you just trying out commands to see if I had added any yet? Because the answer is no. I have not. But yeah, there's a lot of people... like, I'm surprised you're surprised by that. There's a lot of people these days that just project the idea that since they don't do anything they don't want to do, that if you do something, you must have wanted to do that. Saru says, I grew up with a father who never hit me, but he gave me strict discipline still, and it benefited me in the military. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, it's just like the thing I was talking about the other day with schools. Because this is also a schools problem. No one is being disciplined in the schools. No one's being held accountable on either end. The kids aren't accountable, the teachers aren't accountable, the principals aren't accountable, the superintendents are not accountable. And is it any wonder that we pay more than anybody else per student and we're getting the results that we're getting? There's no discipline of the kids, there's no discipline of the teachers, and in higher ed, you know, you've got tenure, which is like literally an anti-accountability mechanism. Who knows what tenure is? Who knows what tenure is? That might be an American thing, I'm not sure. It could be an English thing that America adopted. Being old. Had a choir instructor brag about her tenure. Yeah. Tenure equals more or less unfireable. Especially for the things you say. When did tenure become popular, by the way? Yeah, outliving all your opponents. When did tenure become popular? Does anybody know? In the in the higher education system. Because it became popular at a very specific time. In higher ed, tenure became popular at a very, very specific time. Oh no, you may giving me the Wikipedia definition. Yeah. Yeah, that's accurate. And I would say it's difficult even with cause. At the birth of feminism. Actually, yes, exactly correct. In the 60s and 70s, when people were being held accountable for crazy communist ideas being taught as doctrine instead of as opinions. That's exactly when that became popular. That's exactly when that became popular. Is it any wonder higher ed is where it is now? Yeah, in my state, there are other states that aren't going quite this far, but in my state, I believe they're considering just getting rid of tenure entirely. And there are things you are no longer allowed to teach because of the abuse of tenure. Fun fact. Well, it's not that you can't teach them. You can't make them required courses. You can teach them all day long, but you can't make them required courses. And when it comes to funding, being a required course is very, very existential for a lot of these courses. I'll give you a hint. No one's taking women's studies to the degree that it is a profitable class to run without it being a required course. So the fact that it's illegal to have DEI stuff in courses, at least by those names, that's a whole nother discussion. You can't have any of that in required courses. Basically kills those programs. Which is the intent. That is absolutely the intent. What the fuck do you mean, women's studies? Oh, man, Noodle, if only you knew how bad it was. If only. Oh, I keep slouching. Lario, I haven't been doing my exercises for my back. Can you tell? My posture has been difficult to keep lately. I need to get back on that. What are you talking about a video? I love it when chat gets, like, on their own conversation. It means I've done a good job at, like, sparking a conversation, which is what I want to do. He doesn't take back shots like he used to. I sure don't. Lesson number 1, do not ever define what a woman is. Yeah, pretty much. Yes, actually. I have been in meetings. Let me think about whether or not I want to say this at all, and if so, how I want to word it. I have been in meetings talking about the consequences of this legislation. And when people brought up ways to get around it, people you would not expect... This is a good lesson in accountability. People you would not expect to go, no, we're not going to try to get around this. That's bad. We're saying that. Because they were accountable for the implementation and compliance of these things. And suddenly, all of their ideology and politics went out the window because their pocketbook was at risk. Funny how that works. So what you could say, if you flipped that on its head, women's studies only exists when forced. Voluntarily, at least here, it doesn't exist. Wait, accountability means following the spirit of the law? It means it means that you're responsible for what you're doing. So when somebody else tries to arrange things in a way that would cause consequences for you, you tend to stop them from doing that because you're the one getting the consequences. Accountability is about consequences. I've had a very frustrating... we'll make that its own... We'll make that its own thing. I will need a recap before stream ends. I think I stopped comprehending what we're talking about. Yeah. That's why I need chat's help, because, like, I am having a very off brain day, which apparently is coming through. Apparently that's coming through. Which I warned y'all about at the start of the stream, but I do apologize for that, because, like, I would like for my brain to be ordered right now, but it is just refusing. Comprehend my nuts in your mouth? Chewy. Like blubber nuggets. So, like, if you're accountable to your audience, and you say, that you are not particularly a fan of a certain group of people, you could expect there to be the consequences of that, right? And I think people misunderstand the term accountability here, because when you say, so-and-so needs to take accountability for their actions, blah, 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 well, that's actually not up to them. Because if taking accountability is up to them, it's not accountability. Accountability is what somebody else can hold you to. So, in this example, the audience is the group doing the accounting. The audience is holding Strimmer to account, which is how that's phrased. It's awkward, but that's how that's phrased. Somebody else or self, yeah. Okay. Accountability is a foundation of most societies or relationships, and making them work as intended. One side effect of avoiding accountability stands to destroy society and community. I'm putting a lot of words in what Saru said, because yeah, he can't type. I'm trying to make those sentences make sense on his behalf, but I'm not doing a good job of that. But yeah, it's the foundation, because when you're not accountable, you're chaotic, and chaos just doesn't work. And thanks for bringing me around to one of the first points I was trying to make. Accountability, like, why do we have that? Why do we put ourselves through the accountability process? Because as a society, it's kind of something we decided to do to ourselves at the end of the day. Who's it for? It's for productive people. That's what I was trying to say about the criminals earlier. You don't need accountability to be destructive. In fact, accountability stops you from being destructive if the rules are sensible. That's what accountability is for, is to help people maintain their productivity by protecting that productivity against the forces of chaos. Can you put the shopping cart back? Little things like that. Do you litter? Do you grind your skateboards on things that can be destroyed by having your weight on them? Like, I don't mind skateboarders, but I've seen them destroy a lot of shit because they gotta grind on everything. Not the shopping cart test. Yes, the shopping cart test. Had to bring it up. Not the shopping cart test. Are you the kind of person who makes everybody else brake for your aggressive driving, and then after it's all done, think that the reason you didn't get in an accident is because you're such a good driver? It's that thing. It's like, yeah, yeah, we're going to hold that person accountable in a place that makes sense. We are. I'll test your shopping cart. Please do. You never know what you'll find in my shopping cart. Well, maybe you do know what you'll find in my shopping cart. But, it's not Twitch safe. But the reason people get frustrated with that is because, I've almost never seen that person held accountable. Yeah, on the road, always give way to the person who breaks the rules lest you get into a car accident. Exactly. And if that happens enough and for long enough, everybody starts becoming the person who breaks the rules. If you're on a road where everyone is doing 10 over and you're not, you're the person that actually becomes the hazard. So when there's no accountability for the people going 10 over, it's the person following the rules that becomes the hazard. Can you see why following the rules being a negative thing would be something you would want to avoid? Because this works with other ways too. This works in politics. If your opponent's rules are that they won't follow any rules, but that they'll hold you to yours, is following your rules a good idea? In Korea, always give way to the more expensive car as he can afford better insurance. Good to know. But like in politics, if your opponent is, I don't have any rules, but I'm going to hold you to your rules, is it a good idea to follow your own rules? And the answer to that is no. Especially if, well, if your opponent has enough leverage to make that hurt you, the answer is no. If they don't, keep following your rules. That's it. It's just, that's the simple part. If your opponent has enough power that them not following rules and you following yours puts you at a disadvantage, you can't follow your rules anymore. That becomes a disadvantage immediately. And it's the same thing on the road. If everybody's going 10, 15 over, and you're trying to follow the speed limit, you've become the hazard. Lirio says, I took a defensive driving course, and I kept thinking that the vast majority of road rules I break are for my own safety. Yeah. Has anybody, because this happens very frequently, or semi-frequently where I live. Has anybody ever had a situation where a major intersection traffic light was without power? And that situation devolved into chaos? Have you tried reestablishing order in that situation, or did you go with the flow of the chaos? Because it's a very bad idea to do the former. Someone's going to hit you. Once the order of that situation breaks down, it's gone. In some states, cops can pull you over for going the speed limit if you are not following the flow of traffic. That's true. That's true. In some states. The point is, it's kind of like a prisoner's bargain. Eventually, following the rules not only becomes the least advantageous thing for you to do, but eventually it flips to you're a danger to yourself and others when things get lawless enough, which is another way to say no accountability. When I say when there's no accountability at all, following a moral compass might not only be dangerous for you, it might also be dangerous for others. So that's why we have, as a society, have decided accountability is something we want, because we like having roads, and we like having air conditioning and electricity and all of those things, because those things can break down very, very, very quickly if you don't have some sort of order. Let's see. Like, have you ever been in an area where not littering is not a value those people have? It becomes disgusting very quickly. England's going through this right now. They're having a big problem with illegal dumping. And they don't really know how to handle it because, like, they've never had a problem with it before. Like, not a huge one. Sarah says I did some combat tours in those areas. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, it's just... order can be a very good thing. It's why those people... Have you ever run into a sovereign citizen person? I've run into, like, one or two of those. That were unironic about it. Like, they really believed they were sovereign citizens. It's like, you have to handle those people. You have to handle those people pretty harshly. Makes looking for roadside bombs a much scarier thing. I imagine. That's a lot of camouflage for those sorts of things. If there's just literally trash heaps everywhere. It's like, okay, well, spotting the out-of-place thing just became a lot more difficult. Noodle says, I've seen body cam videos on Mia's stream with one. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was going to talk about that other streamer. There's another streamer, and I forget his name. He's very popular. He's the guy who does, like, the free audits of people's accounting. And there was a clip I saw recently of somebody who was literally admitting on camera to tax evasion because they just couldn't understand what was in it for them to pay their taxes. And, yeah, so they're on camera on one of the most popular podcast-style YouTube channels talking about how they can't... Huh. Sarah says, on God, wasn't there an illegal resident couple too? Yeah, there was. But anyway, this girl is like, she's on there, and she looks like she's in her mid-30s to early 40s. And she's like, well, you see, they came to my door, and they were talking, and they were, serving me notice for something, but because I never answered my door, they can't prove that I heard it. But she's saying this on camera on a massively popular podcast. So, oh, there was this, there was a DC cartoon where the Joker essentially runs afoul of the IRS, and then he gets very, very panicked. He's basically goes, I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy enough to go after the IRS, or I'm not crazy enough to challenge the IRS. Are you stupid? It's like, I'm literally a lunatic, but I'm not dumb enough to have the IRS for an enemy. We're going to pay our taxes right now. It was funny. Saru says, they didn't even say taxation is theft. Fake libertarians. Yeah, that's how you know. They're like vegans. Having been one myself very briefly. They're like vegans. They will let you know. You will not be confused. But yeah, that entire ideology is bankrupt because it relies on every single other person on the planet having a policy of leaving you alone if you leave them alone. And that's the only way that philosophy even starts to work. Which means it's completely incompatible with reality. That dogma came about, I believe, when tabula rasa was like a very popular theory of mind. And yeah, it just doesn't work. Let's see. So yeah, if you're a streamer and your audience is men, and then you're saying, I dislike the fact, or I dislike this aspect of my audience, they're probably going to hold you to account. Now, is your career going to end? Probably not, if I'm being honest. You will lose a little bit. Maybe you don't lose anything at all. But those are the people who can hold you to account. Something that you're going to be held accountable for in a more real sense is if you suddenly brand switch. That can be a problem. But yeah, accountability isn't always like... It's not this thing you can take... It's like, oh, they should take accountability and apologize and whatever. It's like, oh, that's not up to you. And I'm curious when we got into the mindset that it was up to the person doing the bad thing, whether or not they were going to be accountable. And I think it's because a lot of people imagine that they can cancel other people when the only people that can hold them accountable, like, is their audience. Sarah says, depends on what they call a career. They could be happy with 500 viewers and not... Yeah, exactly. Now, that's still an accounting. That's still a consequence. It's just like... That word is used so fatalistically. It's like, if you take accountability, you're over or something? Or, you know, just leave the space... That's not how this works. It's not how this works. I think people like to imagine that they can cancel people. And the reality is, and I hope Cinder learned this. I hope Cinder learned this. The only people that can actually cancel you is your own audience. Now, other people can sling some very stinky mud, but at the end of the day, if you're an independent content creator, the only people that can actually hold you accountable is your audience. And even a lesser extent, your platform. I would say lesser extent, because there's other platforms you can go to. And depending on your audience loyalty, you will survive losing a platform or even two, depending on how you arrange things. But if you lose your audience, you're done, regardless of the platform. So yeah, I would say your audience... you're more accountable to your audience than you are to the platform. And yeah, Cinder is still getting that bag, but I hope she learned. I hope she learned that. Maybe she realized that from the off. I don't know. I can't read her mind, but it seemed like in her an initial reaction, she was afraid of being canceled by not her audience. That's how I read her initial reaction. So I hope she's learned that that's not the case. Only your audience can do that if you're an independent content creator, and to a lesser extent the platforms. Yume says Cinder is top 1 bit earner or so ever. Yeah, I thought Cinder was like, I thought that was like Cinder's thing. Like Cinder was just really good at getting bits. Dr. Disrespect and Pirate Software still streaming. Mizkif will still be able to stream. Yeah, yeah. Like I'm not saying that your audience will like 5 you to 0 you. There's always going to be people that will stick around. As weird as that is, like there's going to be a portion of your audience that sticks around for like anything. I mean anything. But I think they have a lot bigger impact on, like, how they feel has a lot of bigger impact on you than how the platform feels. So there is that. But yeah, other people are what hold you to account. When I make decisions, all right, I have the higher I get, the more people I'm accounting to. And you would think that'd be backwards. You would think as you go up the ladder, there'd be less accountability, because that's how most people perceive power structures. And as you go down the ladder, there's more of it. But that's actually not true. Because as you go up the ladder in fields like mine, you may lose the answering to middle management. You may lose answering to maybe even HR if you get high enough. But what you start to do... Yep, ads in 3 minutes. Because I'm actually signed into the panels I'm supposed to be signed into, and they can warn me about that now. Yay! But as you go up, it stops being about your boss. So we're going to have minus symbol. It's less about your boss. And it's more about regulatory frameworks. And if you think you had a lot of bosses at the bottom of the ladder, don't read regulatory frameworks. Because holy shit. And I'm sure Saru can tell people all about that. Where's Nick at? Where's Nick at? Where's the people that can help me corroborate this? Like, I don't need it corroborated. Like, as you go up, you'll figure it out. You know. Suddenly, you're personally accountable to the fire code. Regulatory dick works. Yeah, pretty much. But yeah. Oh boy, I'm the CIO. I get to do whatever I want. I'm the CEO. I really get to do whatever I want. No. Now you answer directly to the investors and the board. And now you're personally responsible to several laws that are like, the person who's responsible for whether or not the company breaks this law is the CEO personally. Oops. Well, I guess you've got a lot of bosses now. Oh, a dude like 5 rungs under you accidentally disclosed this data that had PII in it? Well, guess whose problem that actually is? It's yours, buddy, because you're in the C-suite. The higher your position, the more visible your words and actions become. Absolutely. Absolutely. Some politicians need that lesson. I agree. Sorry, some politicians. It's too bad there's no test for politicians, you know. Anyway, I gotta start the ads. Have a good break. We'll be back soon. Chat, let's find some better music. Well, better's not the word. I just think I've looped through this playlist in its entirety like 3 or 4 times at this point. So let's find something else. Chat. Thanks, Noodle. I'm not sure I want to stop this one, though. We'll let this one play out. I had to get something warm for my throat. My voice is protesting. Alright. Alright, let's get back to it. So, I mentioned that 2 days ago was our 20th. Not 2 days ago. Yesterday, Thursday, was our 20th. Streamer hates good music, blubbers. Yeah, well, Lirio, come over. Get me that warm throat fluid. What was I saying? Oh yeah, yesterday was our 20th. Tomorrow is waifu's birthday. So, I'm in a group chat now, because communications have been difficult, and like every break I go on, I'm like having to get into this group chat and being like, calm down, I've got this. Actually, the anniversary we celebrate is the anniversary of the day we met. And both of us forget our wedding anniversary constantly. Constantly. And the reason for that is because we never had like a rough patch where we like broke up or anything. We have been dating / engaged / married. We have been in one of those statuses since the day we met. Unbroken. So that's actually the day we tend to focus on. I'm not going to read that one, Saru, but it's funny. I think John Twitch might have a problem with me saying that out loud. Like, in the context of your comment, it's hilarious. But John Twitch does not really do when I actually say it in a nuanced manner. Technically, she was 17. She made me wait a whole year, though, for anything bad. Yeah, John Twitch doesn't know the context, so... Or maybe waifu reverse groomed RM. Ah, shit, I said it. Oh no, I'm cooked. But... that's what she claims. That's what she claims. What if I just said Gooner anytime I saw that? Maybe waifu reverse gooned RM. I gooned waifu, allegedly. That's the in Minecraft out, isn't it? That's kind of the same. Okay, ban RM. Yeah. But no, like, that's the day that's important to us. Because since we never had that rough patch and, like, everything went according to plan, like, the wedding was kind of just a formality. And, the way we forget it every year kind of reinforces that. What's funny is that we forget it so hard that when we were celebrating Direct Report's birthday, it took us a minute to figure out, wait a minute, Direct Report's birthday is on our anniversary. Saru says, it's hilarious how lefty Twitch is, but they are complete sex prudes in their enforcement. Yeah. It's hilarious because both you and me remember when Lefty and Sex Prude were not the same ideology, but now they are, depending on context. But largely, lefties have become the sex prudes. Lack of accountability example? I suppose that's correct. Hee, largely. So yeah, as you go up the accountability ladder... Wait, hold on. I remember when lefties fucked. Yeah, they fucked too close to the sun. And now boobs are bad. Unless there are not enough boob, and then it's the boob of consent. There's like a cup size of consent, and then there's like a cup size of the male gaze, and you're not allowed to have either. It's always them, too. It's like, well, not always, but it's like, it's frequently them, because it's like always the height of consent, or the face shape of consent, or the chest size of consent. You know, it's like, guys. Guys, hold up. Nero. You do know that your messages are configured to go through D&D, right? Based, though. Nero's plotting. Yeah, D&D, do not disturb. I have his messages go right through that. Which I think he just learned, like, just right now with the rest of you. That is very cultured, though. Who up in RM's DMs sending nudes? It's Nero! Uh-oh. 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 It looks like I have after stream activities. So, tell you what, chat, we're gonna cut this at 9. We're gonna cut this at 9. I wanted to go longer today, but some messages are coming in that tell me I have after stream activities to take care of before people get a little too wild. RM, don't say RM getting laid like it's rare, okay? That is like the most frequent thing that happens to me. That's, you know, next to coming home every night, getting laid is the next most frequent thing. Which, that's going to be a little bit of a brag, but there's also a point to this. The people who have, like, these relationships where they're like, oh, after you get married, the sex won't be as good, and it won't be as exciting, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you're those couples that only have sex, like, once every couple of months, aren't you? Because that's a statistic. Like, people my age, at my stage of life, apparently are getting it at, like, once or twice a month. Nero says that's just a skill issue. Absolutely it is. Like, we're still hitting 4 or 5 a week. And I currently don't see a reason that would change. So yeah, if you think marriage is like... high five for having sex couples. Damn straight, Nero. If you think marriage is just like the end of your sex life, I feel sorry for you. Because I get laid a lot more than sluts do. Pink Woman's dad fucked himself to the ER. Did he? I think I know which Pink Woman you're talking about, but that's not exactly descriptive. You have any idea how little that narrows it down? Which pink woman? There's the rabbit, the dragon rabbit, the girly pop. He did other stuff, but that was the last thing that mentioned. There's also the scythe wielder. There's a lot of pink women. There's the clown. Yeah, which woman's pink? Scythe. Okay, that's not the pink woman I thought you were talking about. Oh, you're asking which one. That's Mori. That's Mori. When Ken Ashcorp did his happy birthday Pippa for her 3.33 year birthday, at the very end he said, "Thanks, pink woman." But instead of an image of Pippa, it was an image of Mori. And it was great. That was funny. Yeah. I don't even know, like, I think it... Oh, it's Girly Pop. Okay, so Girly Pop's dad, fucked himself to the ER. I'm assuming a mild heart attack? By the way, speaking of accountability, guys, no, don't clip this. Don't tell waifu I said this, okay? This is something of a skeleton, right? There's a little meat on this skeleton, but it's still a skeleton. Like, it's not all the way a skeleton. There's a little meat, there's a little skin, the hair's still kind of stuck in the scalp a bit. But it's a bit of a skeleton, okay? One time, we had an argument, and she tried to withhold sex from me. She made it a week. I made it a month. And we never had that problem again. Be disciplined, boys! Yeah, right. And she got too horny. Lirios sounded like a mild heart attack, but I wasn't around for the full stream. You think I'm silly? I'm here to save the world. Yeah, I love that one. I love that one. But no, he was doing a happy birthday Pippa. Fuck it, we'll risk the VOD. We'll risk the VOD. I can't believe y'all haven't seen this. I'm gonna find the happy birthday Pippa. And we're gonna watch it. If it's still available. I mean, if we've all seen it. Oh yeah, low effort clips has got me covered. Okay, we're gonna copy link address. We're gonna open Brave. Some of us don't watch stupid Pink Rabbit. That's fair. That's fair. Let me rewind this to the start. Get rid of these tags. This might kill the VOD, but I don't care. Synchro carries Giga Chad. Yeah, this is only 4 minutes. Let's go for it. Let me put this up. Hello, Brave browser. Goodbye, Clip Studio. Let's make that big.
You know, might as well, I guess.
Goodbye, my camera.
I think the song had enough. The song.
Say help.
The stream had enough PP.
God,
yes,
she's loud.
I can't speak.
Is she loud for y'all?
Why does
Pipkin Pippa?
What? What'd you say to me? What'd you say to me, motherfucker? What'd you call me?
Happy birthday, Pipkin Pippa. Age 4. I made a song for
That
you.
hurt.
I hope you like it.
Don't tell me what to do.
Happy birthday, Pippa. You are 4 years old now.
I'm not.
Everybody loves you. Have a really great day. Happy birthday, Pippa.
I love
I
Ken.
hope you go to Build-A-Bear. I hope you get a Briar horse. Have a really great day.
Oh, thank you.
Happy birthday, Pippa.
Don't tell me what to
Don't eat
do.
too much cake.
No, I'm still mad at you.
Remember to brush your teeth.
Please brush your teeth.
No.
Happy birthday, Pippa. Don't get banned on Twitter. Please don't use a hard R.
You are not black.
Why are you like Tedna? She's the better Jedmate. She doesn't have rodent heads or vomit in her drawers. Let me smell your armpits. I bet they're really stinky. Imagine the smell.
We're only halfway through.
Happy birthday, Pippa. Shoot a fucking Walmart. They are not real people. They are just feds. Happy birthday, Pippa. You are 4 years old now.
I'm not 4.
Fishman, make her graduate.
No.
No! Oh!
No. Don't tell me what.
Yeah, so there's that. By the way, those shenanigans, like, the shenanigans, like, from her community, I was aware of before I joined my first VTuber community. Where's the rest, Smadge? I mean, go watch it. Go watch low effort clips. Pippa reacts to Ken Ashcorp's birthday gift. Because they make her play it twice. But, like, between that and the billboard, I think this is one of the reasons I get in trouble, like, other places, right? Yeah. This is one of the reasons I get in trouble. Like, my first encounter with, like, VTuber communities was Pippa's community. And I'm like, wow, these people are gremlins. Like, between this and the billboard, I was like, okay, this is how VTuber communities are. This looks really fun. So then, like, I vibe with this. I love being a gremlin. So I took that energy to other places, and I don't think it was appreciated. Oh, he's going to rebrand a high effort clips? Is that a joke, or... RM, that thing I sent you has been posted. I expect a saucy repost from After Dark. Absolutely, dude. Bro, real talk. Imagine... Oh, man, it's almost 8:30. I really got to get through this other stuff. No, post-COVID VTubers are gauge, not gremlins. You know, you have a point. I've got to get through the rest of it, at least the point I'm working on now, because we're up against that 9 o'clock. Maybe I will go to 10. Fuck it. We've got tomorrow morning to plan. He wants to experiment with other things, but he needs more time, so he opened member. Oh, yeah! I saw that, but I didn't see the part where, like, he's like, I'm going to rebrand a high-effort clips now. Fuck it, let's go! Yeah, exactly. But, like, I took that in, like... There's no VTuber or other community that's going to make me not like that energy. Like, that's imprinted on me. I'm going to be a gremlin. I'm going to bully you with money. It's not always going to be subs. It's not always going to be, bits or whatever. Sometimes it's going to be art. Sometimes I'm just going to put, an insane amount of my personal work hours into something, you know, like a video like Ken just did, and use whatever talents I have. Singing's not one of them. You know, making music's not one of them, so I can't, like, be like that, but that's not the point. I'm going to take my talents, and I'm going to make stuff like that. That's where the Battleship video came from. That's where the beach photos of the plushies come from. That's where the what was it, 64,000 word smut comes from. That's, you know, I'm going to use my talents, and I'm going to be a gremlin. You know, if somebody's going to buy a billboard, I'm contributing. I'm going to bully you with either my time or my money, whichever I have the most of at the time. And if you don't like that, I don't belong in your community, and that's fine. But please tell me early, before I hit 2 years. I'm just saying. Tell me before I hit the 2-year mark that's not cool. Sometimes he'll force you to accept his help in tech and editing. Yeah, or 3. Right? Jesus. Alright, so, yeah. So when you go down the ladder, like, these are backwards. These are backwards concepts that people who have not been in these places, have about how these work. So, we're going to take the labels off these arrows, because they're backwards. But it's actually the case that as you go up the corporate ladder, as you go up it, you actually get more accountable. And you go down the corporate ladder, you get less accountable. And I really mean the corporate ladder. If you're self-employed, this does happen, and you can only be accountable to yourself and your customers, and that gets a lot of people in trouble, because a lot of people need more structure than that. Only pre-approved and carefully sanctioned gremlins allowed in today's VTubers. Apparently, Saru. Apparently. Now, am I going to get clowned on a little bit, because people could predict that maybe, perhaps, Pippa's audience was a bad example? Probably. But they're wrong! They're wrong! That's like one of the best community dynamics ever. They're just incorrect. I just hit my mic. It was better in the old days. But yeah, as you get less accountable, or as you go down the corporate ladder, and as far down as you can go is like unemployed, self-employed, you're less accountable to people that aren't you. There are some exceptions, because sometimes being self-employed means, you just get all the CEO baggage without realizing it. What's the joke behind naming the rabbit sheet metal? I don't know. I missed that stream, and I've been meaning to look it up. But I don't know. I can't tell you. I think there was, like, a vote or something. But I would have to go to the VOD and, like, find out. Ain't got time for that. So, speaking of not having time, as you go up the ladder, you get fewer bosses. You get less bosses. And you get more regulation. And I'm going to focus on that word regulation. So as you go down the ladder, until you hit 0, you get more bosses. Maybe even when you hit 0, because functionally, when you become somebody's client, they're your boss. So you're going to have a lot of bosses. And in many cases, less regulation. And I do not mean specifically legal regulation. I mean all forms of regulation. Company policy, company guidelines, HR, all of that shit. That's a type of regulation. It doesn't have to be a legal framework. So as you go down the corporate ladder, you become less accountable. Can you see how this might be a bad thing for people who are not self-regulated? Yeah, best practices in air quotes, because those are always required practices in Corpo Land. The best practice is the mandatory practice in Corpo Land. A form of accountability is getting decent profit. Yes, it is. But you already have that in Corpo Land, because not only do you have to make a decent profit, you have to make a decent profit that can pay for all of these buildings and all of these people and all of these computers and all of these compliance mechanisms. And it's like, when you go down the corporate ladder, you need to be profitable for you and your house and your retirement, and not 10,000 people's retirement and healthcare and, well, I won't say houses because they don't, like, provide that. But you know what I mean. And the buildings, which, you know, the buildings are using the commercial grid, which is even more expensive. I brought this up a few times, but, like, I'm in the middle of, like, helping architect a building. Because we're getting a new building. And I'm high enough up that my input is required. So that's a new experience. But yeah, I have to be like, oh yeah, we're going to be using this much wattage here. We're going to be using this much wattage there. These are the power connectors we need. You know, that sort of thing. This is how much space we need in, like, the plenum area. And that's... The plenum space is not a term most people are familiar with, and I don't think I'm going to explain it tonight. But if you know, you know. This is how much space we need in the drop ceiling. These are our clearances we require in the walls. Blah, 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 blah. Sounds dirty. Yeah. The plenum space is dirty. Don't breathe this. There used to be a theory, sorry, says, there used to be a theory in business that you should only lose money for first 5 years while building a brand. Now it seems like they never stop building. Yeah, now it seems like the strat is to chase angel investors until you jump with your golden parachute. That seems to be the modern business theory. Get angel investors and keep sucking money out of them, and then jump out of the building with your golden parachute. Like, it's not even the consumers that are always getting milked, which we're getting milked, but, like, now it's the investment class that is also getting milked, which, you know, that's kind of funny, honestly. You can suck this angel whenever you want. Thanks, Nero. Fantastic. Next break, I'll do that retweet, by the way. Sorry, says, most people would be better with more bosses considering their average IQ. Yeah, absolutely. Now, are we in a place where people at the bottom of the corporate ladder need more resources than they're getting? Absolutely. And I'm not going to get too much into the politics of that, but, like, regardless of your politics, you need to understand that the people at the low end do not make enough to live. And we're not just talking about bad boys that shouldn't make enough to live. You should not be making enough to make a living wage as a part-time bag boy. I disagree with that entirely. But if you're an adult, you need to be... There's a lot of adults doing very hard labor right now that are not getting paid enough to have a basic living. And that's a problem. And it's actually part of this problem. When I was little, my dad worked as a short-range regional truck driver. And before that, for the time that I can remember, he was also, like, before he was the truck driver, he really just worked in receiving at the same company. And I've told a lot of stories about being destitute, and we were, but it was because of debt and not because of income. There were some pretty bad decisions made by a... Hey, I work in receiving too. Well, that's because you're my alt. Lirio says, I can't afford a family, but I'm fine as a bachelor. Yeah, and that's just... That shouldn't be the case. Nero says, I should rebrand as a glizzy to stream with RN. Yeah, but then I'm going to gobble you. So. Loyalty is a big problem right now, and I've heard some talks about it, and I'm going to give my take on it. But when I was a kid, we never went without food. Hungry was not a thing I was, despite all our problems. Was the house falling down around us? Yes. Was it horribly infested with roaches? Yes. Do I, to this day, the first thing I do when I open a soda can is look inside of it for palmetto bugs. To this day. If I set it on the counter, I check again. If I set any drink on a counter, I check it for palmetto bugs. My direct report caught me doing that. Like, I had forgotten that I do this. But, like, I opened my drink and I looked into it like a plastic bottle. It was fresh. I opened it up and then I looked right straight into it. And, she's like, what the fuck are you doing? Alright, Saru. See you soon. She was like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're looking into your drink. And I'm like, I am looking into my drink. Why am I looking into my drink? What do I do that? And I thought, oh yeah! Because there might be a floating palmetto bug in there. And then I got on the horn with my sister. And I'm like, hey, do you still check your drinks for palmetto bugs? And she's like, oh yeah, especially the cans. I'm like, oh, that's that poverty trauma. Okay, cool. Well, now I know what that is. I will make no effort to fix this. This is like the most benign thing ever. I'm going to keep looking into my drinks, and now you know why I do that. But, we had food. Sometimes it was tainted. But we always had it. There were some other problems. The electric company actually cited our transformer too far from the house, so we had brownouts a lot. So not only were we poor, but like all of our appliances kept dying because we had constant brownouts because the electric company fucked up. And there's no recourse there. There's no recompense. There's no suing them for that. They're just like, oops. I think it was like 13 or 14 when they figured out their oops. They had killed like 4 Super Nintendos at that point. 2 washing machines, and like, we're already in trouble with debt. Like I said, it wasn't the income that was the problem. It was mom going on spending sprees with a credit card and similar things like that. But then like appliances would also die. Washing machines, clothes dryers, all of that shit, freezers, they would all die because the electric company fucked up, essentially, and put the pole too far from the house. And we were constantly in a state of brownout. And so we were even poorer. We didn't have any working AC until I was 15, and I live in Florida. So no AC until I was 15. That was a leave the house situation for a lot of the summer. That was like, it's literally dangerous to be inside. You need to go outside. That sort of thing. But we did eat. And I talk about that like that's the world. But like, to me it is. Like, I'm not one of those kids who was poor and then like also went hungry. And I'm very happy about that. But the point is, like, back then, we would actually visit the company during, like, off hours. Because we would have, like, weenie roasts and shit. And, other stuff that wasn't corporate cringe. Like, everybody there genuinely liked each other. It wasn't like going to mandatory fun. Because when you're going to mandatory fun, it feels like mandatory fun. And if you haven't been to mandatory fun, I can't really explain it for you. But it's the closest I could get if you haven't experienced is like, you know, doing a group project in school. Like, no one actually really wants to be there. But for this, we wanted to be there because everybody there, like, they were genuinely a team. So, like, inside the same company, like, my dad works himself up from receiving to, like, a driver, or, like, from receiving to, like, the yard guy, and also receiving, and like, actually a driver. Like, he's moving up inside of the company without having to leave the company. And that's just not a thing nowadays. So, one of the big problems is this is a security issue, because workers that are disloyal, so, like, you have negative loyalty, workers that are disloyal, they leak shit, they delete shit, they sell secrets, they put in 20% effort, if that. Star says, okay, I'm back. You can repeat everything you just said. I check my drinks for roaches, is basically what I said. And if you have positive loyalty, you have neat things like institutional memory. Institutional memory is one of the biggest advantages in, like, corpo shit. Yeah, palmetto bugs. Oh, man. For those of you who are not aware what palmetto bugs are, like, German cockroaches are about this big? Pinky nail. Focus on the pinky nail. Please? Please? No? Yeah, pinky nail. Palmetto bugs are the size of this entire thumb. So, also they fly aggressively when they're trying to run away. Oh, thanks, pause. I was about to click that. The giant cat. I just thought about why. That was filtered. I thought it was the fuck word, and then I'm like, wait a minute, that's been said in here before. And then I'm like, oh, that's a whole phrase. Yeah. Thanks, Lirio. Holy shit. Anyway, you get institutional memory, which is a fantastic competitive advantage. If you have institutional memory and your opponents don't, and you somehow are on the losing end of that exchange, it is your fault, because that is a huge advantage. And then it's like basically the opposite of this. You can keep secrets. You more easily achieve managerial maturity. We'll say managerial and process maturity, because one of the things you need for managerial and process maturity is institutional memory. If you don't have institutional memory, you basically can't have this. Not without very, very expensive consultants. And it starts to decay the second the consultants are gone. That was perfect after my institutional racism. Yeah, it was. That was great. I was like, that took me by surprise, because like, wait a minute. We've said the word fuck before. Why did he get... Oh. Oh. Saru says, so do lollies have no institutional memory? What did bro mean by this? I'm gonna borrow the Gen Z slang, the Gen Z mannerisms. What did bro mean by this? What is bro cooking? Boy, blood sure was a flash in the pan, wasn't it? Brudda. Brudda, What is it, Yume? Do you not like the... See, I have a 14-year-old. I know more of these things than I really should, and I love using them. I love using them. Especially against him. The, But yeah, you get managerial and process maturity. You actually spend... You spend less money... on recruitment, which is a huge fucking cost right now. I don't know how people have let themselves get into this. There are now, like, giant recruitment agencies. And, like, if you do one of these recruitment agencies, and the company would pay you normally, like, 90 grand, well, you get paid 70 grand, and the recruitment company gets 20 grand. For as long as you work there. You mate the Zoomer speak, bruh. You add skulls and oh yeah. You gotta say you add the skulls. You're right. I forgot. And they all use AI. Oh yeah. But the reason you have all like these recruitment companies is because turnover is really high, and turnover is really high because most companies you can't move up internally anymore. So you have very poor loyalty because the only way to get more money is to leave. Maybe you leave for another company, and then you work for that company, and then you come back to the company you were originally working at for even more, and you do that trade a bunch. I think adding 3 emotes at the end of every message makes it appear smarter. Yeah, like a good zoomer. Which Saru is definitely a zoomer. That much is a fact. But yeah, so you get into this, like, this turnover dance where you're constantly spending money on training and recruitment for newbies. You're not developing your old stock with that training. You're just throwing more training money at newbies. Lirio says, is recruitment a scam? Because I only ever see that Anne Hathaway meme when it gets brought up. It's kind of a scam right now, in my opinion. In my opinion, it's kind of a scam. Like, it might have been useful at some point, but right now it's just a meme. Right now it's just another avenue for, like, H-1B abuse. And I'm saying that as somebody, like, in the tech industry. H-1B abuse is, like, really awful right now. Like, it is bad. It's hard to find jobs because one of the ways you can qualify to get H-1B visas for your company is that nobody's applying, like, no domestics are applying for the job. So, naturally, you only post the job opening in the bathroom in the 3rd floor, in the 3rd sub-level basement. And then no one sees that ad, but you gave it to the recruitment company, too, and you know who the recruitment company's looking for? They're looking for the H-1Bs. And also, you price the position at something only an H-1B would accept. You do that, too. So, yeah. Hey, Dimu, what's up? How's your art going? Sarah says, what do you mean? We need H-1B for our 7-Eleven clerk jobs. Yeah. Which is, that's not what H-1B is for either, but somehow that's where we're at. Oh, was Dimu in poor health recently? I must not have known because I actually hate him, you know. That's the rumor. But yeah, you spend all this money on training. And this is kind of how the people don't see that the workforce is holding employers accountable because they don't see the consequences. And the reason they don't see the consequences is because of stuff like massive illegal immigration and massive legal immigration abuse. Like, the way we're holding the workforce accountable isn't having effects because of the abuse of those programs, which is designed to prevent the former. And you might not like that take, but at least in tech, it is absolutely true. So what we're doing... Sorry. My voice is really starting to protest now. Maybe we will end at 9 after all. But we'll have to have a part 2, I guess. What the workforce is doing is holding these companies accountable. And in a world where your IP is increasingly a huge part of your company's worth, this shit is starting to get big eyeballs on it in the C-suite. Because you can lose a ton of value when all of your employees are doing this shit because they have no loyalty to you, because you have no loyalty to them, and you will give them a pizza party before a pay raise. Before you create an internal track upwards. It's just pizza now. Or a $20 gift card to, like, a place you can't eat for less than $50. And then they wonder why this crap is becoming a huge issue. There was something like $20 billion was lost to just this stuff from one company this year. I forget which company it is. I'll look that up for part 2. But this is big business now. This is actually the preferred method of North Korean spies, like literal spies. They're abusing the turnover velocity in companies, because the turnover velocity is so high that they can't vet candidates anymore. So NK sends their boys in specifically to do this for NK's benefit, and they are reaping a fucking windfall. They are reaping a fucking windfall from this. This is a significant part of the North Korean economy right now. Lirio says, I was having a conversation about this, and I'm pretty sure my job doesn't count as private sector. I don't think it does. Noodle says, okay, but why are they that dumb then? Because number go up. Anything to make the number go up. What do you mean, what the fuck I mean, Noodle? Which part of this is confusing? No, number does go up in the short term. This is why all of our services are in shitified. The number is going up. The number is actually going up. Lirio says, oh, I forgot to mention that conversation was with the guys at work. Oh, okay. The number is going up. That's why things are getting shitified. That's why H1B abuse is, like, critical right now. That's why you're finding construction sites that after ice sweeps through literally has no one working the site anymore. And, like, they're teetering on the edge of being able to continue to do this. Like, this is why right to repair and planned obsolescence is a big thing. No. The number is going up. They're just recovering costs in increasingly unethical and unsustainable ways, but the number is going up. This can all be true. This right here can all be true while number go up. The problem is this stuff right here is starting to make number not go up as much, and there's worries that it might start to make number go down. So now it's really high on the radar. But the reason we're here is because all of this shit was working. The negative loyalty model was working for a time. That's why it's a thing. Saru says part of it is also Karen's doing the "it's not my job" attitude and putting blinders on. Yeah, there's also, like, there's a lot of that. Like, you hear Asmund talking about bullshit jobs. There's a lot of bullshit jobs. There's a lot of HR Karens. But despite all of that, the number was and is going up. Part of that is depressing pay, which is a big part of this. This is a big part of the loyalty thing. Depressing pay, because American labor is like the most expensive part of basically any business. Like, by far, the labor is the expensive bit. But you can only push that down so much. And now you have regulatory pressures trying to push this up. So if you've got all these problems, but now you've got regulatory pressures to push the benefits of this out, now you have a problem. Obviously, Obviously, the reason why the number is going down is because we're not doing enough of the same thing. Absolutely. That is... God. If you ever wanted to understand the corpo mindset in one sentence, Plaus just uttered it. The reason why the number is going down is because we're not doing enough of the same thing. That is just like every C-suite everywhere. If you can memorize that sentence, you will understand corporate America decision-making. Nero says, that just brings up, like, grandparents hearing me talk about my job and being like, oh, you must be rich. And I'm like, bro, I can barely pay my rent. I make, by myself, just slightly more than both of my parents made at their peak combined, and I have less purchasing power than they do. I have less purchasing power than they do. And the reason I didn't end up like them is because I'm not in a sea of debt. I would have been in the middle fucking class if they didn't, like, leverage our credit cards to hell and back. Which pisses me off every time I think about it. Because, like, we lived like poor people on a middle class, like, not just poor, but, like, destitute. On, like, a middle class income. And now that I'm making more than that combined by myself, my purchasing power has gone down, but my results are way ahead of what I grew up with. And that's frustrating. Decision-making is a big part of everything, guys. You can get real far on some good decision-making. I have an ad in like 20 seconds, so I'm going to push that ad now. I will see you guys on the other side of that break. Do. Alright, we back. Alright, my voice is running out of wiggle room. But one of the major points I wanted to make tonight is that ultimately you cannot dodge accountability forever. I am not the throat goat. I really do need to figure out how to do this longer. This is clearly, obviously a technique thing. Maybe I just got nerfed somehow. I don't know. But I need to figure out why I can't talk for more than 3 hours without getting that little wiggle in my throat. Thanks, Nero. And correct it if I can. Maybe it's just a genetic nerf and I can't yap for nearly as long as I can type. Tragic. It's just muscle training. I wouldn't have been able to go 12 hours at the beginning. Yeah. Yeah, I gotta figure that out. Because right now I'm a 3-hour chump. That ain't no good. I need to do something like gaming where I can and have the game give me the breaks that I need. Nero does go for 12 hours, at least once. So, you can dodge accountability-wise. The accountability of your peers. The accountability of the legal system. The accountability of your parents and other authority figures that have temporary total control over you. You can even dodge accountability from, like, institutions, like work or higher ed. That's the reason why I side-eye every degree that includes COVID years, and that's getting to the next point. The thing you cannot dodge. You can even dodge, for a time, collective societal judgment. Remember when we had that whole thing about, like, not slut-shaming people? That's making a comeback now, isn't it? That's making a comeback now, isn't it? Because reality will assert itself eventually. So maybe you can use all the cheat codes, you can use all the privilege buffs, you can use the having rich parents, you can dodge everything above there. What you can't dodge is the fact that you're going to die alone and uncared for if you act that way. You can, like, dodge! But if you go too hard on these, especially if you do more than one, and you do them frequently, like all the time, you know the people I'm talking about. The people who are accountable to seemingly no one and nothing. Eventually, reality does assert itself. You might not see it, and that kind of sucks, but it does. That guy that you see aggressively weaving through traffic. You know, one of the things I've noticed about... Yeah, old cat ladies. One of the things I've noticed since I've been living in the same spot, like literally my entire life, visited a lot of places. And maybe I'm boiling it down too much, but the more cities I visit, the more they're the same. It's like, yes, this skyline looks different, but when I walk into the fucking McDonald's, it's exactly the same. When I walk into the Starbucks, it's exactly the same. This is just a collection of businesses I'm already familiar with. It's a collection of experiences I'm already familiar with. There's just some neat landmarks in some places, and once I've visited those, that's really it, isn't it? People might disagree with me, and they are free to. But every time I visit somewhere else, I'm like, well, I'm glad I live here. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes even overseas. Oh, that's neat. Still want to go overseas and see some of those things I talked about, the landmarks and stuff. The strange shit. Yeah, with the spread of Americanism. Yeah, it's still the same McDonald's, even in Germany. But, not like I even go to McDonald's anymore. God, they've turned to shit. Like, they were always bad, but they turned to shit. I remember when I was like 12 and the Arch Deluxe came out, and I was like, I'm going to eat a big boy burger now. That was good marketing. Literally copy-pasted NPCs without renaming them. Sometimes, yeah. But, yeah, sometimes we call this karma. We don't always see it. Anyway, living in the same place I have for so long, I noticed that the cars that are weaving in and out of traffic change really quick. I'll see one week, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, I just don't see that car no more. So yeah, maybe I didn't see him get his license revoked. Maybe I didn't see him get in the deadly car accident. But for some reason, he's not on the road no more. Or his car isn't. I just don't see him again. Which is weird, considering I take more or less the same route at the same time to and from work every single day. So it's weird that I don't keep seeing the same assholes in traffic for very long. And, you know, occasionally you'll drive by a really bad wreck. And it might not compute to you that there are 2 very likely reasons that wreck happened. Starting with the most likely. They were that asshole that's always looking at their phone instead of the road that you're always seething at on the highway. Or they were drunk. Which is another type of person you tend to be mad at on the highway. And that's the bulk of accidents between those 2 things. Especially the bad ones. So yeah, you'll see some of this, and you'll see a person get away with it, but then you'll see the consequences of them not getting away with it for very long, and you won't put that together. Given the traffic trackers after ICE activity, there's a third option. I can't argue with that, at least not in major cities. I can't argue with that one. That traffic tracker was wild. That was wild. But yeah, eventually, reality, and I would say even the collective societal judgment, will assert itself. Promiscuity is a good thing, did not last very long in the scheme of things. And it was starting to be pushed in the late 90s, but like it didn't really hit full swing until the aughts. And it really just didn't even last through 2015. He can't keep getting away with it, but he actually couldn't. Yeah, that's kind of how that works. And a lot of people don't believe that bad things happen to bad people, and there are some bad people who do end up getting away with it. That's true. But they don't get away with it forever. And remember what I said, like, about halfway through the stream, is like, The reason you hold yourself accountable, the reason you hold your company accountable, the reason you go through that is because it's the best survival case for people who are building things and making things better. Accountability is only bad for the people that are destroying things and making them worse. So look out for people who are trying to convince you that accountability is bad, actually, like as a concept. Sarah says, funny when women give away the pussy for free, nobody ends up wanting it. Yeah, like, why would I buy the cow when I can just get the milk? And, another brag moment, but something I really want any young men, especially, that ever see this footage to understand, is that I rejected all of that. And now I'm 20 years into a very sex-filled marriage with 3 children on an income that everybody says is impossible to do any of that with. Even when I was, even with my generational advantages. Reject sex, receive more sex. Yes! That's why waifu and I waited a year. I think I already said this on a different stream. But you're roommates, essentially. At the end of the day, you're roommates. I didn't say this exact thing 30 minutes ago. No, I didn't. At the end of the day, you're roommates. And if you plan on staying with each other for a long time, eventually you are going to get to a point where sex leaves the picture. Or maybe it's not nearly as frequent. Or maybe you need pills to make it happen. You know, age takes all of us, eventually. You don't get to choose when that is. I know a young couple where a guy got injured in his spine and he's quadriplegic now and he can't really do anything, you know? And they're sticking together. At least for now. Yeah, like, you don't get to really pick when this happens to you. So if you don't make sure that your relationship can survive without sex, if you can't, yeah, there's always toys, but like, he can't even really, like, that's a one girl show, I think. He gets to watch. But, the point is, if you're not compatible without the sex, you're just not compatible. And the problem is, sex is great and can make you really ignore some real problems in your relationship. So you need to go, I really recommend going a year. But 6 months at minimum. And if you can stand each other after that period of time, go for it. Go for it. But if you don't do any of that waiting, look at divorce rates right now. Just look at the current divorce rates. So yeah, I bucked all of that. When the Wizards of Smart told me how great it was being promiscuous, I didn't listen. When I told people that, or when people told me that I had to leverage debt to get anywhere, I didn't listen. When people said kids are too expensive to have unless you're in the upper middle class, I didn't listen. And now I've got all of those things on a salary people say is impossible. I bought my first house on a salary of $25,000 a year. And no, being a millennial did not make that a thing that people thought was possible. Actually, it's the house I'm in right now. I purchased this house on $25,000 a year. And I did not have a credit score when I did it. Not that it was low. I did not have one. So, figure out how you want to live your life and then do that. Because I guarantee you, if you live your life the way somebody else wants you to, and it doesn't work out for you, you are going to go postal. You are going to end up on the first page of a newspaper. No, not anyone can be a Giga Chad like me, but what they can do is make sure they don't regret the choices that they've made. When they look at their failures, they can say, those were mine, and not, I shouldn't have listened to that asshole, I shouldn't have listened to the television, I shouldn't have listened to the TikTok. Oh boy. Let's talk about that in the VTubing space, in their entertainment space. How many bad decisions people make listening to TikTok, and then being like, what happened? I did this thing on TikTok, and now I'm miserable. Well, how about that? You don't say. And it's not like that's new, it's just there's a different vehicle. I was told the same thing by my grandparents about the news, like just in general. My grandpa was very skeptical of the news, and he made his skepticism very entertaining, and I am almost 100% sure that's how I ended up in the place I'm at right now. Was just to, like, disrespect authority. And now I'm the authority in a lot of ways. But I think what he was teaching me was to disrespect false authority. And that's just something you're going to have to sort out for yourself. But, the point is, reality does assert itself. Eventually, and it's not going to be everything that doesn't make sense dies all at once, and then we live in a world where everything that makes sense. That's not how that's going to work. But a lot of the things that don't make any sense right now that people are just socially signaling, a lot of those are going to die, and they'll be replaced with other things. And then those are going to die, and maybe those get replaced by socially even worse things that we believe for a short amount of time. But the stuff that works is going to reassert itself over and over and over again, because you can only do stuff that doesn't work for so long before the doesn't work asserts itself. And that's what we're running into. That's why this pendulum swing is so hard. Is because, like, if you're doing something that doesn't work and you're doing it as hard as you can, eventually the doesn't work part of it is going to start causing problems. And the stuff that works is just going to reassert itself over and over and over and over. It will be durable. Which is why the reject tradition thing is so stupid. Because, like, if you have a tradition that's worked for 600 years or so, you think you're just, like, that much smarter than 600... Because people do. People are like, I am smarter than 600 years worth of people. My idea is good, and their idea is bad. And it's based on nothing more than, like, rejecting the old tradition. It's not based on conditions have changed. It's not based on we have new capabilities. It's based on old thing bad, and I am smart. Like, you're not smarter than 600 years of people. I'm sorry. Humans have not gotten fundamentally, like, genetically smarter in, and I think it was like 10,000 years? We're having trouble recreating Saturn V rockets. That was less than 100 years ago. We literally just cannot build them anymore. We don't have the institutional knowledge anymore. We have people that don't believe that humans built some of the things that humans built because we are no longer that competent as a society. We have definitely had a competence drain. I won't say an intelligence drain, because it's not, but we have a competence drain. Homo sapiens or Homo sapiens sapiens? Because Homo sapiens sapiens is a thing. Like, sapiens sapiens is a thing. Now, maybe that's what you meant by Homo sapiens. What Plus says was Homo sapiens have been around between 100,000 and 200,000 years, and there hasn't been much change. Which, that may be true. Yeah. I'm asking. You might have meant sapiens sapiens when you said Homo sapiens. I'm just asking. Because I know you didn't pull that out of your ass. That's not something you do. Or at least not often. Plaus does not frequently pull things out of... Oh, no. Oh, no, that's a statement, isn't it? Plaus does not frequently pull things out of his ass. I meant like that if Plaus comes at you with a piece of information, he didn't pull it out of thin air, is what I meant. But it came out funny. But yeah, and that's a part of reality reasserting itself. I say reality, what I mean is the things that work. And there are things that work with people. And will keep... Yeah, that's what I thought you meant. I needed the clarifications, because, like, sometimes you are that precise, you know? You can't fault me for thinking, you know, is that what Plaus meant? Because Plaus is usually more precise in his language than that. You're being bullied by your own competence, Plaus. Believe it or not, I know the feeling. Yume says, I was hoping to witness an FTL drive on my Sentry because of one theory I forgot the name of, which says that new tier of tech will be achieved faster than previous, but I think I can bury that hope. Yeah. Your reputation precedes you. It's going to get more incremental, Yume. We will keep making advancements, but the low-hanging fruit is gone. Like, completely. The low-hanging fruit is just completely gone. So yeah, it'll be incremental advancements. There are people that suggest that you and me and most of chat are part of the last generations of humans that will die of old age. So that's fun. We can still die of car accidents, obviously. There's some boffins out there that think that we're witnessing the last generations of human beings that will die of old age. What happens to debt when you don't die of old age? Like, what happens to the expectations of the amount of debt you can be expected to take on? It's gonna skyrocket, right? Sarah says, I won't die. My brain is going into a jar. Yeah. I mean, you say X, but there are currently organisms on this planet that do not age out. They die from being eaten, but they don't age out. So, from a biological standpoint, it is possible, and we think we've identified the mechanisms that cause aging, which is simply deterioration of the DNA. So it's simply, no, I say simply, it's simply a matter of figuring out how to make our DNA not degrade over time. Yeah, those things, Nero. Telomeres and stuff. But we also have to figure out how to make our perfect DNA not assert itself into wicked-ass cancers. So, that's also a problem. There's a rap song about the eternal jellyfish. That's great. Of course you would know that, but that's funny. But yeah, so best practices will assert itself with humans. It will assert itself with corporations. It will assert itself with security. And there's a lot of like really obvious shit that it didn't take a genius to point out. Oh, that was a hard Badoop. Was that somebody DMing me that gets past my do not disturb? Yes, it was. Anyway. That's why the things that work will always reassert themselves. And this weird period where companies are not focused on making money, and they're not. They're focused on stock price, which is not the same thing. Thanks, Nero. Thanks for abusing that. They're chasing stock price instead of returns, and they are not the same thing. They make products that their own customers do not like. That will not last forever. And I think we're starting to see that unravel right now. Now, the new kid on the dystopian block is artificial intelligence, or at least what passes for it. So there's that. We're going to have... It's going to cause labor issues, and the predictable consequences of putting automation tech that's not ready to be deployed yet everywhere is going to rear its head eventually, but I give that 10 years before it just becomes super depressing. But the part where we make products our clients don't like while doing everything DEI in the house, while we don't prioritize competence, while we don't even prioritize profit, all for the sake of making the stock price go up. I think those days are ending soon. Now, what's soon to me? 5 years, maybe. It really does depend. But I think they're coming to an end. And I think a new issue with how we figure out what people who are too stupid to work vis-a-vis automation, what we're going to do with them. So that's a place I think we're headed. Because we have to figure that out. Because that bar keeps going up. Harvest. You know, sending free food to Africa only made more starving Africans. That's been the net effect of sending free food to Africa. Just as a related concept. So that's a tricky problem to solve. Amazing how that works, huh? Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's like free shit always fails. Yep. It's like some people do indeed have to starve to death, and that sucks. It does. It sucks. But feeding them just made, like, more of the problem happen. They don't even... It's not like we fed Africa, and then Africa had a lot more babies, and all of those babies were fed. No, what happened was we fed Africa, and now their parents have just enough food to reproduce, so they have even more children, and all of those children are also starving now. So we created more misery. Like, literally created more of it by sending the free food. And that's not like, yeah, don't do anything for anybody. It just creates problems. Ubermensch time. Woohoo! It's more like, yeah, problems are not Reddit tier post easy to solve. I'm sorry, Mr. Redditor, but you are not the first person to have the idea of just give people food. I know that after you got out of, like, whatever your first year of philosophy class was, made you think you were the first person with that idea. But you're not. That idea is hundreds of years old. Probably more. It's probably thousands of years old. But there's a lot of civilizations that are probably no longer around to tell that story about how that failed. Perfect DNA is when I have a larger penis. Thanks, Plaus. God, man. I love youngins sometimes. And the phrase, why don't you jest? That is like my most irritating, cursed phrase for me to hear from anybody when they're about to solve my problems. Why don't you just... Oh, no. You haven't been around long enough to know not to say that. Oh, boy. Whatever is about to come out of your mouth is about to be real entertaining. Why don't we just launch the nukes? Yeah, that was a bit... You know, during the 20-year sandbox war, I heard that a lot. I was young enough to say it a few times. Why don't we just glass them? Why don't we just glass them and have it over with? You know, I was guilty of that when I was young. Like, young. A lot of people said that. A lot of people said that. Some people still saying it. Some people are still saying it. Why don't we just glass the Middle East? That'll solve it. And they're not being ironic either. They're like, well, I see this 10,000 years of eternal conflict in this region, and I say we just glass them. And they're being serious. Necessity is the father of invention. Yeah. But it's like, I don't know, man. I mean, rad suits exist. Yeah. Well, even if you don't leave offspring, like, it's not that simple. It's like, to launch the nukes at all is complicated. Because we have other people who would launch nukes against us if we did. It's not like we just suddenly come kumbaya and like, okay, the Russian proxies in the Middle East, I don't like them anymore. Go ahead, United States, we can nuke them together. This problem's actually just really bad. How about you launch your nukes and I'll launch mine, and we'll just glass the Middle East, the US and Russia together, because we're both sick of it. It's not that simple! Like, mad is solved if you just nuke everyone else at once. We have enough nukes to launch planet-wide, so yes it is. Oh, yeah, but like, then we also get nuked. The problem is you're starting to see MAD fall apart, INAC. So this is getting kind of scary. You're seeing MAD fall apart because Russia can't maintain its nukes to a level. We're still in the mindset that even if they have like 5 that are working as intended, that's too risky to have them launch those. But I think you're going to start to see, as Nero says, because America is bitches, I think you're going to see bitchless America pretty soon. Yeah, the Kurz, I don't know how to say that name. The Kurz video, he made a video that if just US and Russia launch their nukes, the whole Earth is basically gone. Yes! If Russia can launch their nukes. Saru's got it. If we have Golden Dome, MAD goes away. Not only that, but if we have Golden Dome and 80% of Russia's nuke stockpile is also unlaunchable. Kurzgesagt. Okay. Kurzgesagt. I'll try to remember that. I will forget. If we have Golden Dome and only 20% of their nukes can even be fired, MAD is gone. MAD is just... There's a reason we're practically giving away Patriot systems to basically everybody. There's a reason Poland's buying every anti-air defense they can purchase from us, including stuff we haven't really quite finished making yet. Here I said I wouldn't get into politics, but, like, it's a part of accountability. Like, MAD used to be the ultimate accountability. More or less. It's like, you can escalate a conflict this far, but no farther. Okay, so what happens when the United States is no longer accountable to anyone because we're the only superpower and we have Golden Dome and MAD doesn't work anymore? What happens to... What happens? What are you talking about? There's no accountability for politicians. Russia offs theirs all the time. You mean American politicians? There were barbell accidents recently. Inax says Super Earth. Maybe. Maybe it goes the other way. But we could also get Super Earth. Not all non-Americans are alien bugs. Yeah. Like, it could go both ways. Like, I'm not even prescribing anything. It could be that with Mad out of the picture, stuff actually gets better. That could happen. American dominance might not be bad. On the other hand, maybe it is. We just don't know. What I do know is that the signs do point to Mad ending. Yeah, or it could be horrible. Beware of who controls the Golden Dome. It might not be the people you want. It could be the Karens. Yeah, exactly. Like, we don't actually know how this is going to go. This is not as simple as America bad or America good. It's just not that simple. I just agree with Saru. I do see Mad coming to an end. I'm not sure if it's coming to an end so fast that I will be alive to see it. I'm not sure of that, but, like, I do see the signs that it's crumbling. If I'm alive in 20 years, maybe I'll get another 20-year Told You So. Maybe. Cherish every 20-year Told You So you get. You don't get many of them. Mad ends until we get relativistic weapons. Oh, God. Ew. I don't want relativistic weapons. Waifu says, you better be alive in 20 years. I mean, I want to be, but it's not guaranteed. What's that who's that streamer who just simultaneously got septic, pneumonia, liver failure, and, like, kidney failure all at the same time? Because of tuberculosis or something? He's only, like, in his 30s. So yeah, I better be alive in 20 years. Well, get mad at God if I'm not, because he'll be the only person you can bitch to. Yeah, Brandon Buckingham. That's him. That guy. Like, there won't be anybody to hold accountable if I don't make it 20 years. It certainly won't be me. I'm constantly mad at God. Thanks, Nero. But yeah, it's not like you can hold me accountable for dying earlier. Nero says, what, that was Buckingham? Yeah, that's him. He's still alive, technically. Based on the diagnosis, it'd be no small miracle if he survives. That's for sure. I don't think he is. Noodle says, yeah, I can. I'm a spiritualist. Anyway, guys, let's wrap it up. I made the big point that I wanted to make after my brain drugged me around the entire Ouija board of an alphabet. Thank you, Lirio. Ouija boards are how we keep the dead accountable. I was like, yeah, after my brain got done, like, doing the Ouija board of what point I'm trying to make, I finally got to it, and I'm happy with how I wrapped that up. So we'll call the point concluded, and, we'll see y'all later. See you next week. And hopefully I pick a topic sooner than the day before. How about that? Let's pick one right now, because I think I want to go over some basic... Like, I've been doing a lot of theory crafting over the last month and a half. And I want to get back to some more practical atomic habits for security. I want to get back to some, like, atomic security habits. Because it's been a while since I've gone over anything like that. I've gone over a lot of theory, which is helpful if you listen to it and incorporate it. But I want to get away from the theory part, and I want to get into the more practical shit. God damn it, Nero. That's just a theory. A CISSP theory. Yeah, and that's another group I'm accountable to now. And, I'm accountable to the FBI. I'm accountable to local law enforcement. I'm accountable to NAJCD. I'm accountable to NIJHS, I think it is. I'm accountable to CJIS. NIST 800.171. All that shit. And even more. But, yeah, I'm accountable to several regulatory frameworks. I'm now also the evacuation coordinator. So now I'm accountable to several more. But yeah. Y'all have a good weekend. I've taken up a lot of your Friday's time, and I will stop doing that now. Have a good one.